Okay. So I'm American and I live near Portland, Oregon, and I'm a language learner.
Don't leave us hanging
What
for
languages?
which language?
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Which language?
Oh, sorry. I speak Chinese and I'm learning Spanish.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great.
Good. So you're learning Spanish, and how are you learning Spanish? I guess you're doing some of the stuff on the board.
I exited and I can't see the board, but I could just hear the talk. But I use YouTube. I have online tutors, and I also use there's a lot of digital resources, and I recently discovered learn languages with YouTube. It's a Chrome browser extension, which is awesome.
Right. I don't know
You
about
can
that.
display dual subtitles
Mm.
Okay.
on screen
Interesting.
if the television show or movie has closed captions.
This is interesting. So actually, I need to re-enter the space because the voice is not fantastic. But you were talking earlier, Kat, about your intensive, the ELICOS course in Australia, the intensive training. What Flojo is talking to us about there is the more kind of self-study, kind of at your own pace kind of flavour. Could you talk about the pros and cons of that? Tell the guys and girls a little bit more about what you think of the advantages of the intensive learning versus maybe the not so intensive learning. And I'll be back in a moment.
Oh. Okay, pros and cons. So intensive learning, I guess, as a main pro is that you are exposed to the language daily for many hours. That really develops all your skills because you work on all of them. You read a lot, you listen to a lot of it, you write, you speak. Because when you are at home, it's really hard to make yourself to push yourself to like spend 1 more hour doing this or that tasks. I don't know. What about cons? Any ideas? What do you think? Or other pros? Let's make a dialogue.
Ariel, you're going through the process of becoming a teacher, and if you come out of that process the other end safe and sound, you're probably going to have a lot in your mind about what you think is going to be, kind of what you think is going to work well and not so well. What do you think about the intensive learning versus a kind of more kind of take it easy day by day thing?
Technically learning Spanish since I was like a kid, but I can read it and write it, but I couldn't speak it because I wasn't doing anything, an intensive thing of like practicing every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. By the way, everything we're talking about today, yeah, like it's where we've been talking about this, us two, Kat and I, about there's a lot of good juicy stuff that we talk about in events like these and across the whole of the event calendar with Educators in VR. Shout out to those guys. But we want to kind of actually kind of put this in a concrete or a visual kind of like, okay, review or summary. So we're going to be working to do that with Laurel, who's at the back, founder of Educators in VR, along with Daniel and Donna, one of the really great people behind the scenes as well. And so everything you're saying today, like Ariel, Flojo, these are all things that we're going to be kind of putting down on paper or on a screen for us to kind of come back to and continue. So everything you're saying is really kind of helping learners and teachers maybe refine the way that they use VR for language teaching. So good. So the intensive, you've covered those points. We've covered the YouTube, the captions, which is an interesting thing that Flojo mentioned. So we should definitely check that out as well. I mean, do you think that imagine that you only had that way to learn, Flojo, just with like YouTube? Do you think you could get to a level of fluency, or you need more?
Oh no, I think that's just one resource, and I think that what you said earlier was key, was daily practice, whether it's self-guided or directed in a classroom or online. It has to be daily, and I totally 100% agree with that.
Okay. Good.
It's also only one way because you're developing and improving your perception skills, but what about production? Should be also developed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're talking about there, when you say about production, Kat, you're talking about actually putting into practice what you have learned theoretically, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you tell us a bit more about the work you're doing in Russia in the school, the private school, I think, because that actually is getting to a stage of producing the language, is it not?
Yeah. So as a elementary school teacher and tutor, my role is to create these, let's say, yeah, it's more artificial, but this language exposure. So I made lots of signs and posters. I put them on the wall. I talk to kids only in English. Basically, yeah, because kids, they can be sometimes frustrated and you don't want them feel stressed. I try to speak with them in the target language. So we made lots of stuff outside of the classroom. Like we were playing sports in English. We were playing lots of tabletop games, video games on tablets. What else? I was just walking around calling different objects like this is this, this is that, and I asked them questions. If they couldn't answer, I gave them an example of the questions, or you can answer this way. And yeah, that's kind of. I also tried VR with my students. We can cover it later, or or maybe now, right? Yeah.
We can, yeah. And there's some great, and those students there, how old are they?
So the age since 6 and till 10. So the range of 6 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see them with a really simple VR headset with my mobile phone in it. And generally, I was using it only with 360 videos. But as a tool, right? I used it with the other elder students. You can't see them at the photo. They were 10 and from 10 till 13 years old. In the middle of the class or at the end of it, because I used it as a practical tool to practice the pre-taught vocabulary and grammar. So we were learning some new words, and then I gave them a headset and they watched a video, and the exercise was like to tell everything you see, try to use your new words, and it could be just a word or a phrase or a sentence, whatever you want, like no pressure. Also, another my intention was to raise the positive attitude to the language in general through positive emotions and positive experiences, because the key is motivation, as you know, and I'm really for positive motivation. And also I wanted them to bring the language out of the classroom so they could see other cities, other people speaking in the same language they were learning. And also with 10 years old, I used Mozilla Hubs, but only during this quarantine time. So unfortunately, I couldn't share my headset with them, and they had none. They didn't have any headsets, so they connected to me through their laptops and tablets. But it's better than nothing. It also worked really great. They had lots of fun. They were creating lots of things they liked because in Mozilla Hubs you can bring various objects into the space and make them huge or really tiny. So they were building like houses out of burgers or out of glasses. And then they were creating something and asked me to come, and they were talking about it like, oh, this is a house. And this, so the language was basically used as a tool uh, as it should be, not as a subject that you have to learn sitting at the desk, but it's a tool of communication between people. So it doesn't exist without other people. So that's it. It worked.
Amen. So like, I'm almost half inclined to just end the event there because it seems like a perfect place to stop. But there's more. So yeah, exactly like what you're saying there is really interesting. It's actually like inspiring, pushing people to learn more, which is often like my personal experience. So we can come to you guys and go soon as well, because I really want to know like what your personal experience is with languages and how they're presented and packaged to you. Because for me, like it was always just like, yeah, in a book, and you felt so detached whenever I learned French or Spanish or German, like maybe once every 2 years as a child, I had the opportunity of going to a foreign country and, you know, like then how do you start? So the ability with the technology maybe to immerse yourself in a foreign country maybe, and then have some kind of nice exercise to put that language into practice as if you are there, potentially can really be setting these kids up for a bright future in terms of language. But it's not all rosy, is it? I mean, I've certainly encountered many difficulties teaching languages in VR, and you've borne witness, bared witness, I don't even know the verb of that, but you've seen some of the negatives of teaching in VR. We can come to those soon. What do you think are some of the downsides to using VR with these children, for example? What hasn't worked so well?
Like the first thing that comes to my mind, maybe sometimes they might be too distracted and go too crazy, and you can't calm them down and make something let's do this or that, let's do that, and they don't listen to you because they're busy creating their stuff. I don't know what else. Also like something physical downsides like dizziness and what else?
I think hygiene now is a factor we need to be considering, and it was already a factor. I remember yeah. Like I remember it was about 4 or 5 years ago. Did anybody know the what is she? Icelandic singer called Björk or Björk? I don't know how to say that. Yeah, she had like an exhibition in London, in Somerset House, central London, and it was in the middle of August. And people think that it doesn't get hot in England. When I can tell you what, you go and put a VR headset, HTC Vive, on your face for half an hour in the middle of August in a basement in London, and you get pretty damn hot. And it was an exhibition for Björk to present her new album with these kind of interesting graphics in VR. And people are literally taking off the headset and giving it to the next customer who paid about £25, $30 for this ticket, to put this sweaty sponge on their face to listen to a bit of Björk. And I'm sorry to be so graphic, but that's the reality of it. You know, with this technology, we need to think as well, maybe about the hygiene and how, you know, we can kind of navigate that. So should we put some questions out? Flojo, anything on your mind? We've got Paula Bean at the back. Long time no see. Yes, we've got a question here from David. Fire away. Unmute yourself. And then put yourself on megaphone. So I'm very bossy today.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. So I'm a teacher in the Seattle Public Schools over in the United States, and we've got 50,000 students. And right now, as a teacher, we've been working on trying to figure out how to build better relationships with students, either as a teacher or student to student. And because of COVID-19, none of our students are going into school like they normally do. So I was looking at using VR as a mechanism to kind of build social relationships, and possibly, you know, teaching later on. So I was just curious what you guys thought about, like, how to use VR. What would be the easiest apps to use, whether it's this or whether it's I saw Mozilla had one as well. Just what do you think would be the best way of implementing that?
One cat.
Depends on the age of the students. I think there are some various apps, experiences, also social platforms like hubs like Outspace. You can even create something like your app or your teaching program,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think as well, on that point of hub, it's a little bit up in the air. By the way, can you hear me clearly? Hopefully I'm not too staticky. Good. Okay, they're nodding their heads. That's a good sign. So Hubs is a great kind of low barrier to entry because you don't need to have necessarily the VR headset. You can just access it directly on your computer, laptop, whatever device you've got, even your smartphone. And even if you haven't got like a desktop or computer to go around for everybody, you can just get them gathering around doing rotations. Maybe, one day they kind of create avatars and think about how the avatar might project certain things to other people. I don't know how deep you want to go with this, but hubs I really like for that. And
It's like the
on this
easiest
topic, sorry, say that again.
It's like the easiest one
you
to
said.
use.
Definitely, yeah. And if you're talking about that social interaction as well, David, it's of course the fact that you don't need the VR headsets means that you're opening yourself up to potentially connecting with infinite amount of students anywhere in the US or abroad. So you could just dovetail that with whatever is on your curriculum that particular day, whatever you need to teach. And there are students and schools out there. And if anybody is a teacher in the world, connect with David, because I'm sure he might want to talk to you. And Hubs equals WebXR or WebVR. And if we can bring up, actually, no, it's like a few slides away. I'll give you a quick tip as well, is Sketchfab, like to get students thinking spatially and differently about information that ordinarily is presenting to them as, kind of static or 2D images on a book or whatever, a photo. Even just getting them to log in, even at home, on the Sketchfab website, or SketchUp is another one, where you can just browse these 3D models and be like, okay, well, we discussed about atoms today in the science class. Go home, find something to do with science, and come back to us and present us something on the website. Because even just navigating your finger around that, for me anyway, it's kind of is that next step of thinking spatially about content or concepts. So there we go. Has anybody else got any other tips for David? Ariel, you're going through the process of becoming a teacher. Tell us a bit more about your experience with the technology, because we've seen you pop into AltSpace a few times. Is there anything else you're doing?
Currently, no. Currently, I'm not doing anything else. So yeah, I have an Oculus Go, so I use AltSpace, and then I'm still going through my certificate to become a teacher.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Alex, Bunger at the back, Lily, I can see you there. No? And yes, Paula, far away.
Well, when I was a little kid, I always found comics very useful in broadening my language knowledge.
Breaking up there. Is it just me?
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, comics. Yes. Okay.
Yes, I would read comics because I wanted to read them, and I saw at first they were in English, and then I wanted to know English because I wanted to understand what they were saying to each other, and that was such a motivation to learn English that really helped me to learn English.
Yeah, I agree about comics. That's right. Yeah, yes, it's a very nice idea because you also have some pictures. It's more interactive, and you can also get some clues through the pictures to help you to understand what's happening.
David, is there anything you want to add to that, or any more questions?
Well, I just want to say thanks so much for the ideas. My district is using Zoom and Microsoft Teams as a platform, and I just felt so alienated talking to people on it. And I really like the idea of having like an actual space where students could move around. And, in terms of introducing, like I could just say, hey, how many of you like dogs? Move to the left side of the room. How many of you like cats? Move to the right side. And, even something as basic as that can really make it more personable for students to learn. in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about it,
Right.
but reality has, right? So without it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, again, if you can't hear me clearly, I think there's some gremlins in the system.
Buy lots of headsets, yeah. But
Yeah,
still
like-
to communicate, so in this space, it would be great.
And schools don't have the budget either. This is the thing
Yeah,
as well.
That's it.
Um, So if you are an educator and you have to innovate and you want to kind of, break out the paradigm of how they think you should be teaching, well, just agree with what you're saying, David. Look outside of the community, people like mate, keep going, keep your head up. Can we go to the next slide, please, Donna? And
yeah, can we do a quick double check? Is everybody hearing Michael okay?
No, he's breaking up for me.
Yeah, okay.
But-
He was,
But just,
it was for
but
me
just
too,
last
Michael. So
minute.
I just do you want to do one more quick re-enter, Michael? Sorry about that. So just so you guys know, I've just asked both of them to do a quick re-enter, okay? So sorry about that. So get your questions ready. He'll ask you for more questions. So we still have time for a few questions if you guys have. And just remember when you're asking a question, if you go to host tools, you can amplify your own voice. And then we can do it for you as well. But just so you know, you can amplify your own voice, and that helps everyone in the room to hear the same thing, and to hear you as if you're standing beside them. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
there we go. So, yeah. Who am I? Who is this geezer talking to me?
Where are we?
My name's Michael. Nice to meet you. After 40 minutes, and I was given the baton by Laurel, Daniel, founders of Educators in VR, Donna as well. She's kindly let me off my lead, or leash, as you say in the US, for a little bit to kind of run rampant in alt space. And I'm an English as a foreign language teacher, TEFL teacher, just like Kat and just like Ariel is going to be doing soon. And so originally from London, live in Italy, and I spend most of my life sitting in front of, or sitting in the waiting areas or reception areas of Italian secondary schools, which sounds very glamorous, but it's not, I assure you. And what am I doing there? Nothing creepy. I'm just trying to promote immersive technology as a way to, improve the way that they might learn or teach a foreign language, English, of course. So I've kind of I'm part English teacher, part kind of entrepreneur trying to package and sell this content as well to schools, and part researcher as well. And I'm collaborating with University College London's Institute of Education and a university in Italy to look at the efficacy of virtual reality within language learning. So what does that mean? There are going to be things that work well and not so well. And on another platform, we won't say the name, Rumi, Boghead Simulations, also in Seattle, interestingly enough, David, if you're still there, Matt Chacon, Chacon, the Shack, as I like to call him on private conversations. Check them out as well, because that's another platform where you can, kind of even via laptop, you don't need a headset, you can just meet people from around the world. So I'm researching, how useful this technology is for the purposes of learning a language. So that's a little bit about me. But Kat is you're the expert in the history of languages, philology, which I'm embarrassed to admit my avatar is going red. I didn't really know what that was until I met you. Tell us a little bit more what that is, and maybe how that might influence you as an educator or as a learner. Is there anything you could say?
So like the history and development of languages, as I said previously, and it lets you to understand like the concept of languages, like in general, because you also have to learn history, poetry, literature, translation studies, all these things to get a wider picture of language. And a language forms a culture, and a culture forms a language. Also, it's like training space. I mean, but Michael, you probably know it because you also learn some foreign languages. I mean, the first foreign language can seem to be quite hard, but after you start second foreign language, third foreign language, it goes easier and easier because you get the idea of languages, like its structure and everything. Yeah, I guess that's
There's a
that's
code
it.
to crack. There is a code. There's an art to the study, and there's going to be an art to the way that you learn in VR as well. And you've touched on that with the work that you're doing and focusing on the production of the language. And I'll say this as well: if you're interested in languages, which you probably are, since you're standing here right now, have a look as well at the area of research of TBLT. That's T for Tango, B for Bravo, L for Lima, T for Tango, and task-based language teaching. And that's where the focus is very much on meaning as opposed to the form and the grammatical structures. And it's something that is kind of very close to my heart, having lived in a few foreign countries. And I remember getting off of the plane in Germany in 2005 or 6 when I went to live there, and in Berlin. And I remember getting on the train, and it was there that I learned the very important word of Zahnseide. And does anybody speak German here? We've got a Dutch speaker. I don't know if it's the same. No, it's dental floss.
Say again, please.
Oh, I've already told you the answer. Too late.
Zahnseide.
Yeah. What's dental floss in Dutch? Go on. I'm desperate to know.
Floss.
That's why I love languages, because you think it's hard and it just says floss. I learned the German word for dental floss when I got off the train. Got off the plane onto the train, and there was a picture of a lady with beautiful white teeth, kind of doing that action, and it was contextual learning, and it's the C word, not COVID, but it's the C word. It's so important. Exactly, it's the context. And actually, look, I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but we might just bring up a portal at the end of this conversation and take them somewhere else. Maybe the Athens Agora that we visited recently that someone created. So just give them a little taste of how context could be important to teach languages. Next slide, please. What slide are we on? This is now we touched on the subject of hubs. You also touched on this, Kat, and David, we mentioned it with you. Now, Sketchfab, this is from Sketchfab. It's a Game Boy. If you can't see it, don't worry. I'm just showing you a 3D model of a Game Boy. If you do have a VR headset, you can even just go through the browser and have a look at that, and you can literally kind of see it in 3D. So, particularly for language learning, I know you like to learn English. UAE, Alex, Ukraine, Paula Bean, Holland. If you want to improve your English or any foreign language, okay, what you might want to do is consider how you look at the world around you. So in an English exam, for example, they often give you a photo and say, you've got 1 minute to explain what you see in that photo. And people are like, he's happy. He has a blue shirt. It is sunny. It's very simplistic. And to take it to the next level, you need to kind of just look more deeply at what you're seeing. And often these 3D objects can be a nice catalyst, a stimulus to help you express yourself better. So my logic is, and I don't know what the research is behind this, that if you have a lot of practice of in VR looking at 3D objects of food and stuff, when it comes to the exam and real life, you should be able to repeat that and produce that more fluently. Do you agree with that?
Actually, yeah. It's about recalling that recall is superior in the same environment in which the learning took place. So you have all these triggers you can use in real life. So you recall, your retention improves. Yeah.
Very eloquently put. Do we have any questions? Don't be shy. Nadia, welcome. Oh, we've got Ariel. Off you go.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys could expand on more problems you had with teaching in VR. Because you mentioned like maybe one or two problems, but have you had any trouble, Michael?
Right, yeah, we're going to open up a can of worms here, Pandora's box. Are you sure? Are you sure about this?
I'm just curious.
Donna, get her out. Can we have this lady removed, please? She's missing it.
No,
This is a
problem.
promotion.
It's perfect.
No, I'm just curious.
Right.
Good one.
Oh, right. Any other question? No. I'll come to that and I'll say in social VR, listen, I like the sound of my own voice. You might have gathered that. But in social VR, like Altspace, if you're doing an English lesson, for example, probably I'd say between 3 and 5% of the people that come through the doors want to cause trouble. They want to say a dirty word, they want to blaspheme, or they want to get up in your face or your grill, as you say over there in the US, and they want to cause mischief. And you kind of think, well, you wouldn't do that in the real world. You've seen a lot of that happen, haven't you, Kat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lots of
And
fun.
how can
Here's my popcorn.
well, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how would you deal with that situation, Ariel? Someone comes in, you're trying to teach, you've got 20 people who do want to listen, like Lily, like Alex. What would you do?
Honestly, the way you handle it is pretty good. You give them a chance to clean up their act, and then by
Yeah.
the second thing, you kick them out
Go
personally.
to the
So
corner.
yeah.
Show them the wrongs of their rights. That's what I try to do. But the rights of their wrongs. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. I'll tell you what, 'cause I've learned through experience.
No.
Listen,
Continue, please. Sorry.
do you remember the time I kicked out 3 Americans once, and it was in the early
yeah.
days of me teaching in VR, and I almost started World War III because 2 of those guys weren't causing any trouble, but I associated 2 because it was like that rowdy rabble at the back of the class. You know, they're chewing gum, throwing bogies at each other, and it's like, well, I'm going to throw you all out, rather than understanding who was really causing the trouble. And he even resurrected a Twitter account, this guy, and he was like, why did you boot me out? Like, to contact me, and was direct messaging me on Twitter. So my advice is, just because it's VR, don't obviously go into the experience thinking you as a teacher can do stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily do in the real world. What I mean by that is, in the real world, I can't, unfortunately, grab the little so-and-so by the collar and throw him out, because I'm going to have to answer to the other teachers and his parents or her parents. But in VR, you know, there's a tendency to just be like, you're gone. But actually asking a few questions probably is wise. Yeah. Issues, what have you faced? Any other things?
Lack of headsets.
Lack of what?
Of headsets. I wish they were
It's-
free.
Yes.
So my students, all of them can have at least one.
Yeah. But you're bringing us nicely onto the next topic, or a question as well for everybody here, is if you have 30 students, but you don't have enough money for 30 headsets, what do you do, Kat?
Well, I put them into groups and give one headset for a group of students. And I've heard you were talking about like bullying, and other students can try to scare the one who is in a headset. And maybe the solution is to give some responsibilities for each of them, like you're trying to help the person in VR headset to be safe and comfortable. The other one should look at the headset, and so the headset should be safe and also comfortable, and something like that. So like a teamwork, yeah.
Yeah, teamwork.
And cheer up them, like, yeah, good job, you're doing good, standing all right, something like that. And then they switch, but with hygiene, So clean before you hygiene, sorry, with hygiene and clean before you switch.
Yes, that's right. Wash
Something
hands.
like that.
Yeah. And so, and I think what we're highlighting here is this is a language kind of event, but actually it cuts across a number of things. You might be a science teacher, you might teach history, whatever it is. You need to think creatively. Nothing like a bit of good old-fashioned creativity. So, yeah, Ariel, in the social sphere, like VR, I mean, the passing traffic can be a blessing and a curse. I guess in the physical realm, the bricks and mortar school, like you touched on there, Kat, I mean, I went to a school a few months ago and in Italy, and I had 3 headsets, and there were about 15 students, and I put them into groups. And the ones, they were like the 4 that were not on the headset, and they were watching the 5th student do a task. The other 4 were trying to pick his pockets and punch him in various body parts, which I won't mention. And it was out of control. But you really have to keep on top of just behavioural things as well, which is, whether it could be VR, it could be an old overhead projector, or a kind of some other little gizmo you're taking into classroom. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to make sure there's the discipline in the beginning, and that's probably the biggest difficulty of it all. So, does anybody have any questions? Any comments? Any disagreements? Yes, Nadia, Russia, welcome.
If I may ask you 2 questions. First is like, how long does it take you to prepare? First of all, for the class, how difficult it is to find those magical world you showed us. And the second
magical
one
world.
is, yes, like people created different worlds and you just somehow found it, or you were given, or you're so experienced, you've been there before. So that's interesting, how you actually find those worlds. And the second question is, I know, according to your YouTube channel, that you have an experience of teaching on different platforms of VR. So what are the can you just briefly compare?
Yes, we certainly can. And it's interesting because you just turned up 10 minutes ago, and what was on the menu was to cover that on the very last point, and it's 53 past the hour.
I'm sorry then. So you may not answer, of course. I'm sorry for being late. Yeah. But...
No. It's perfect timing. That's what I'm saying. It's perfect timing. Kat, the first question was... Oh, God. What was the first question? The first question was the...
How you find those worlds?
Oh, yeah, the worlds in all space.
Oh, yeah, you go
Tell
to many in all space.
What can these lovely people do?
These lovely people, they in Altspace and Mozilla hubs, you can go and have a look at various worlds created by other people. In Altspace, you also can create whatever you want using the built-in building stuff. Yes. So you can basically do whatever is your curriculum or your students need. Mozilla, I don't actually sure about it. If you can create your worlds, and were you asking like how to talk to your students about it, or how to present the technology? No,
the things that I was trying to. For example, that was the case. As far as I couldn't go to that farming world one day, I tried to find this world on my own, and I failed. I had to ask Michael for exact the name of the world. So I wonder, how do you find those worlds? You just type the particular words, like you need to find the world concerning food or something, or do you know? Is there any kind of pool of the worlds that you can find out the one you need? So I mean, what's the best way to find the world you need? That's in a short time, not to waste time like I do, like 3 hours finding the proper world and fail.
I guess search. There is a. You can go on search, type anything you need, and the world will pop up. I'm not sure about Quest Altspace version, but in desktop version, it's much easier to find various worlds. And also, you can go just on Popular and see lots of cool places to go if you need, like, you don't have enough time to do something. You can find
Yeah.
lots of interesting stuff.
Absolutely. So Nadia as well, and what everybody will need to know if you don't know this, if you want to click the menu, you just can. It pops up, and the third one along is worlds, and it says beta for me. Does anybody not see that? Yeah, because thanks, Donna. We'll come to that in a moment. If you don't see that, you might have to enable the worlds in the settings section.
Oh,
Possibly.
you're right. Yeah.
However, as Donna just said, and this is what I would recommend, you go on the desktop version of AltSpace, altvr.com, log in, and then you click the worlds. It'll be on the homepage on the top menu, and then you can search some of the worlds. Now, there are an awful lot of worlds out there, and some of them, with all due respect, aren't maybe best. Like they're kind of very simplistic and may not serve your learning or teaching needs. But that's how I did it. So it's better to go via the desktop. Hope that answers your question. We're going to come.
Yes, but the thing is that you just find out and you go to the world, explore yourself, and then you decide whether you use it or not. So there's nothing like forum or a more kind of reviews of the world anywhere on the internet, right? So you need to go there and research for yourself, right?
Can I mention one thing? Is that okay, Michael?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So when you go to altvr.com, if you log in with your username, then under the More menu, you'll see Worlds, and there's a search tool. So we don't have a search tool for Worlds inside our headsets, but we do have a search tool on the website. What you can do when you are on the website is when you find a world, so put in ocean or is to favorite it. And when you're on the website and you favorite, then when you come into your headset, you have a favorites menu. And everything you favorited on the website, you can now go to in your headset, and then you can favorite or unfavorite, maybe some of the worlds are not what you thought they would be, and you can unfavorite them. But that's one of the options that you have. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's right.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. Very clear. We're going to come to your second question, but there's a reason why Donna's high in the sky, because she's the font of all knowledge, and she's just in the perfect position for me to just yeah. Thank you very much, Donna.
Not exactly.
Yes. So the second question was about other platforms on available in the metaverse, if you want to call it like that. We're in AltSpace. I love the passing traffic. I think that's great, and many people passing through. You can really get the conversation going. You've got Rumi, Dockhead Simulations, Seattle, David, if you're still here, and that's really good. That's more closed. I think they're more kind of they would not class themselves as social VR. You can't really kind of create public events, but you can certainly create events for people with a code and meet there. What I like about that, one of the advantages is if you know a little bit of Unity, you can bring in 3D models from SketchUp, for example, put it into Unity, do what you want, and then you can spit it out into Rumi via their CCK, Content Creation Kit. It's a lot of information. We'll put it somewhere sometime soon, but I would recommend that for this kind of more adapting what you need with their worlds. Engage. Tell us about Engage. What do you like about that?
Perfect tool. You can show 360 videos, so you can bring your students, run a video, and just have some pleasure time.
That's right.
Talking
Jump
about
inside a
it,
360
etc.
video.
Yep.
What I like to do there as well, top tip, it's all free. Go to YouTube first and spend the time on YouTube searching for the good videos that you want. Also search like 360, 8K or 4K, because then when you get into Engage, you already know what to search for, because I've spent an unhealthy amount of time in Engage, despite the fact I love it, and the guys immersive VR education. But you can just do that and on your desktop, or when your partner's making your dinner, spend 5 minutes, find what you need. Paula, question, and then David.
No, sorry, I misclicked.
Naughty boy. David.
How do you spell Seattle-based VR chat program? Rumi, is that what you said?
Yeah, RUM for mother, II.
RUMII. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And does this AltSpace VR work for Apple devices too?
No, actually, well, back in May, it wasn't for iOS. Mhm.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, hey,
And
thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be sharing this with everybody in my school district. I really appreciate it.
right, well,
Thank you.
check out educatorsinvr.com. Come along to the Discord channel because this is just the beginning, and we need your help, and you need our help. We all need each other to work out how best to apply this to how we might learn or teach foreign languages. There's a whole other bunch of stuff we probably could have spoken about, and I think what we might do, Kat, this could be a good idea, and you touched on this in our conversation before, is we should do a tour, shouldn't we? Maybe hold an event and engage in hubs, in Rumi, and we can get down and dirty into the exact tools that you might need to
The taste of
improve the languages. All right, great. Well, definitely reach out to us, add us as friends, send us your email addresses so we can keep you up to date. Are there any final questions before we let you go? No? Okay. All right. Well, been a pleasure. Donna, do you want to bring up the final slide so they know how to get in touch with us? And then we can take a group photo. And then I'm going to go and get some dinner. Keep going.
Oh,
We'll show that video
okay.
another time.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So final. I don't know how many slides you. Oh, is this the final one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Good.
It looks like
Just
it's the final one to me. Okay.
Cool. Well, I can't see it there, but maybe some of you can.
Actually,
I've got it off.
white screen.
Can nobody see the slides except me?
Like, go to homepage, sign in.
I can on my desktop, on my alter ego at the back there. So you know what, everybody, if you want to come to the stage, if you want to get somewhere near the stage, we can still take the photo and we'll prove to you that there were indeed slides.
Let me, I'm going to take stage blocker off. Okay, so now you can
Great.
actually enter the stage, okay? And yeah,
Wonderful.
why don't we take a photo?
Yes, we should.
Here, and I can take it for you if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, because you can see the slides, can't you? Great, okay.
I've got it
should we
all
get
set
some
off. Yeah.
Can you give
I'm
us some emojis, preferably positive?
Are you in the picture, Michael?
I am, for your sins.
Argan, do you want to be on stage?
Come on over.
Oh, he might have frozen. Okay, so let's do some emojis, everyone. And I'm just give me, sorry, just give me 1 sec. I'm just going to go a little bit higher. Okay, here we go. Okay, so keep going with the emojis, and I think it'll be about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there we go.
Happy
That's
New Year,
great.
everybody. Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, feel free to mingle. As we said, there are organic snacks over there at the back, and the toilets are to your right. So, and I crack that every time I come in all space. Yes. No group hugs for today. Go away, Buncher. You've had enough hugging from me today. I'm all out of hugs. No, I'm just coming. All right, everybody, take care. Speak to you soon. Thanks, David. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Could you guys not see the slides? Could nobody see slides?
I couldn't see slides.
Yeah, I couldn't see them either.
No.
I saw them before entering.
So I was literally the only person that could see them?
No, I saw them before entering. Then I re-entered and I see.
And then
this
you couldn't see
white
it?
page. I see the white page. We couldn't find what you're looking for. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that there, like when he did, when he asked, I thought there was a few people that put up sad faces, but everybody put up happy faces. So I thought everybody could. Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. It's okay. Thank you so much for the help.
Thank you.
Glad to know that's
Do you
not
also?
a usual thing that happens.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice to meet you officially. And
Yes,
that was great.
thank
That was
you.
really such an interesting session. You guys, these vLanguage sessions are so awesome. So thank you very much.
Thank